Welcome, everybody, to the Spotlight with Troy Rawlings. I am your host, Troy Rawlings, and today we have the pleasure of interviewing an amazing new author by the name of Tiesha Davis. Her book is called Game of Lies, Hidden Truth. A little synopsis on the book. Sometimes we grow up thinking that our family is going to stick together because we share the same blood, never knowing which way life will take us or how our children will end up. From friendships to brotherhood, nothing is ever too close to be tested in life. But only God can determine who our real family are. That's just a little synopsis on the book, Game of Lies, Hidden Truth, by author Tiesha Davis, our guest today on the Spotlight. How are you, Tiesha?
I'm good. How are you?
Very good. Very good. Thanks so much for taking time out. We wanted to delve in and talk to you some. I talked to you before about the book, and I'm excited that the book is out and the book is available. How can people get a hold? Well, before we even start, how can people get the book in their hands? And you would call this fiction based on a true story.
Yeah. So the book is available on Amazon, also by emailing me at tiesha.c.davis@gmail.com. The book is fiction because I changed a little bit, but it's based off of my life, which is a true story. What I've lived, where I've been, and some of the places I actually want to go.
Nice. So
that's why it's fiction, yet based on a true story.
And you're originally from Baltimore, Maryland?
Yes, I am. Originally born and raised Baltimore, Maryland.
I am a B-more native myself. Got to give props to my hometown at all costs, even though the Ravens are upsetting me right now.
Yes.
Sports area of everything that's going on. It's in the climate of what's going on now. We heard recently about the story. The story's been going on for a while, but we heard recently about the story of Shantelle Brown. We hear a lot about how women and young women go through abuse in relationships, disrespect in the workplace. What pushed you, or what made you say, okay, it's time for me to write at least a piece of my story?
Well, I had been writing for years. Since I was younger, I was writing. I used to write poems all the time when I would feel down. When I was younger, my mom got married, not to my dad, but to my sibling's father, and I was molested from 8 to the age of 16, almost 17. It felt like no one heard me. Even when I would write my poems, I would write it because I felt like I didn't have a voice outside of my body. So only I could hear how I felt. Only I could see how I felt. Only I could feel my pain. So for a long time, I would just write it in poems and hide it under my bed. I never was a child to keep a journal, but yet I always kept my feelings hidden. And so as of about 2 years ago, I was working and I had went through a separation, was married for 16 years, went through a separation, and I was writing again about my feelings, the pain of my past, and my present at that moment. And I let one of my coworkers read it, who is now like a really good friend of mine, and she said, "You should write a book." And I said, "Oh, I don't have time." But then when you think about it, you sit there and you write 8 and 10 poems a day. You got time.
You've actually started writing a book. You don't think about it, but you've actually started writing a book.
Right. I didn't realize it, and I was writing a poem called "Broken," like I said, that was basically based off of my broken heart, my life. So in the midst of that poem, I had created characters because I was just like, oh, nobody's going to read it. So the characters became Shantelle, which would be me, and Jordan symbolized my ex-husband.
Now, how was that? I want to interject real quick, just personally, just off of the cusp of the book for a second. You said you were abused for 8 years by your mother's husband, your stepfather, and as you tried to tell people, it seemed like you didn't have a voice, because you did try. You said you tried to tell people.
Several people, my aunt, my grandmom, even my biological dad. I tried to, let people know what was going on, and it was like, oh, because I tried to tell them, but in the midst I would run away, or I would try to, do things to try to hurt my stepdad. Nobody believed in me. It was like, oh, she's stealing from him, or she's running away. My grades.
Even your father, even your biological father, didn't believe you?
No, my biological father he's deceased now. He really wasn't as active in my life.
Okay.
So when I told him, he didn't even know how to approach the situation or even approach my mom, because they didn't even have a relationship. Even when it came to me, they didn't communicate at all.
Jesus.
To be honest, I was about 13 when I tried to tell my grandmother. And one day I came home from work, and my stepdad's brother was there. And I was in the shower, and he had busted in the bathroom. And I thought he was going to touch me. So I ran away from home. And I ran to my grandma's, and I told her what was going on, and I told my dad. And it was like, why now? Like, why are you saying something now? If this has been happening, why did you say something before? And it was like no one believed that this had been happening. And everyone's like, so why didn't you open your mouth before? And I was scared. I didn't know who to tell or what to tell.
And I hope people are listening. I hope people are really getting this. I mean, this is the base of what part of the book is about. But I really want people to get this part. A child not thinking she had a voice. Because remember, Maya Angelou said at one point in time after being molested, and she told the people who molested her, and I think the guy was killed or something, and she said she didn't talk for years. Maya Angelou talked about not talking for years. And our young ladies, women and men, not being able to, at 13, you're still young enough and it's still fresh enough for you to say, look, this is what happened. They may look at you and it's like, oh, she's just a troublemaker. Oh, she's just trying to do this. Not knowing and covering up. And I have to say, sadly, as adults, I'm a parent of a 6-year-old girl. If my daughter, I've been putting in my daughter since she could talk about her privates and everything. If anyone ever touches you in the wrong way, I don't care what they say, who they say they're gonna hurt, what they say they're gonna kill, you can talk to daddy and mommy. And before she was born, when she was in the womb, I was praying over her. God protect her from hurt, harm, and danger, rape, molestation, and abuse all the days of her life. I still pray it every day. The reason being, so many women have been in some kind of abusive situations that it's almost, like you said, these people sound like they were accusing you of doing something wrong not confronting you about, oh, well, we don't believe you. Why are you just saying something now? It's almost like they were blaming you for saying something at all.
Exactly. It's crazy. But nowadays in the black community, in any community, when it comes to a woman being molested, raped, even sexually assaulted, verbally, emotionally, everybody brushes it under the rug, and the first thing they say to the woman is, well, what did you do to provoke this? Most women were underage or were at an age where they really thought that they didn't have a voice.
Right.
And being a victim of sexual abuse, it takes your voice away. You become mute, and you don't know how to talk or how to tell your story. And it's sad because you have so many people out here that have the same story but never knew how to tell it. And now they're, the person that had the abuser is now 50 and 60 or 80 years old, and everyone's like, well, why are you saying something else? Because that type of abuse takes your voice. And a lot of people don't realize that. It takes your voice. It takes your energy. It takes your self-esteem below sea level. You're at a part where you believe that you're nothing. You just exist. And a lot of people don't realize that that's what happens. And it's men out here also. Don't think that it's just women.
Right. That's a big thing. Men, and not just by men. Men have been sexually assaulted by women and not knowing how to deal with.
Exactly.
It's a sickness. It's a sick mentality that happens. Even if the people know what they're doing, it's an evil. It's an evil that we have to verbalize it. We have to.
Most times it's hereditary. It's in the family. It has happened.
It's people that are close.
It's a generational curse.
There you go. It's people that are close to you. Like you said, in the synopsis, the people who are closest to you, that have access to you, and that have demons and sickness and things, and hurt people. This is the thing that really got me. So 8 years. I guess it got to the point where you were able to leave. What stopped it? What stopped the abuse? Was it that you left?
My mom actually walked in one night.
Jesus.
And then she couldn't not believe me because she saw it about to happen. And then she left. She packed us up and she left and she divorced him. That took years. It took, like you said, like I told you, it took 8 years for her to wake up and see it. But in the midst, it took me receiving beatings and me being told I'm a liar because I'm going to ruin her marriage, for her to understand that I was telling the truth.
So, fast forward past that, the hurt, the pain. It's amazing that you're here. I told you this before when we talked. It's amazing, and you're a superhero because you're here. There are a lot of females, women, men, who've been abused, molested. We hear all kinds of tragic stories, from inside the home to people that were locked up wrong, the people that just didn't make it, that just committed suicide. And not only are you here, you went on to get married. Not just that, but you went on to get your education, first off. And you got married. When did you get married? How old were you when you got married?
I was 22 when I got married.
Okay. And your marriage lasted for 16 years?
Yeah.
And
just divorced October 20th of this year.
Right. That's a there are people in their 40s who haven't had a 16-year marriage. So in their 50s, and you have how many children now?
I have 4 children.
You have 4 children, all with your husband?
All with my husband, yes, sir.
So, and some people may be like, so why is he asking that? Because that's kind of amazing. You know what I'm saying? And I'm not saying the marriage wasn't tumultuous or how the marriage went or what it could and couldn't be, but you're fighting in every stage of your life that you're mentioning now. You're like victorious in areas that seemingly you shouldn't be.
Marriage wasn't easy. Being pregnant wasn't easy because of the abuse. I had many a night where the baby would kick and I would have nightmares. So it wasn't easy. Being able to trust a man when he would not answer the phone, or even to raising daughters. I have 2 daughters. One is 18 and one is 16. I wouldn't even let my children go to sleepovers because of my past. Oh. Is there a father in the house? Do I know the mother? No, you cannot go. Well, the mother has boyfriends. No, you're not allowed to go.
Sadly, I'm not big on it now. It's kind of your daughters are 16 and 18. As far as you know, have they ever had any incidents where they've been abused or anything like that?
No, they haven't. And my relationship with my 2 daughters is great because they talk to me about everything. Sometimes too much. So, but I appreciate it. I appreciate their openness and their willingness to talk to me as their mom about things. And when they don't talk to me, they have outlets, other females, my sisters, their godmothers that they can talk to, where they feel like, oh, I don't know if I should talk to my mom about this. Can I talk to you first? Then my mom, however it works. But they're great. They tell me, my 16-year-old, she probably would tell me if she scraped her finger on a piece of paper because she tells me everything.
If you're just tuning in, this is The Spotlight with Troy Rawlings. I'm your host, Troy Rawlings, and we're interviewing in The Spotlight today an amazing author, amazing testimony, amazing, I call her a superhero, a superwoman, Tiesha Davis, the author of Game of Lies, Hidden Truth. And she's been talking about her story, how she took a story of abuse and neglect and turned it into a book, and just her life being a testimony. How much of your real life did you put into this book?
Well, majority, about 60% of the book is my real life. You have 40% fiction. Some of the things that happen later on in Shantelle, who's the main character of the book, life I haven't been through. But when you're writing, you can create the person to be who you want them to be, or who you wish you were, or who you aspire to be. Because the pen and the paper, it's all your thoughts. That's your baby. You create it how you want it.
Exactly.
So, but 60% of the story is based off of my life and where I've been and what I've been through.
Right.
Now,
how did it feel? How did it feel when you finally got a chance to tell your story without someone saying, especially someone close to you saying, I can't believe that happened? How did it feel to write down your story with no one stopping you? Because that's the great thing about being an author. When you want to tell your story, no one can stop you. Your editor is not going to say, oh, I don't think you should put that in there. Hopefully they're not saying it. So most of them are like, okay, we edited it. See you later. You can put your story out to the world.
It felt good to be able to write my book without being judged, without having anyone say, not this way, say it that way, because it's my pain, it's my life, it was my story.
Right.
And I was able to voice it because for a long time I was not able to speak how things had really happened in my life. I was unable to say how things really made me feel that happened in my life. So it finally felt good to be able to say, this is my story, and this is where I come from.
Right.
Because not everyone can sit back and say, this story belongs to me. A lot of people, like I said earlier, they don't know that they have a voice. They're so afraid because the world is cruel, and nobody wants to hear your woe it's me story, as people would say, but yet they have the same story. They just don't want to hear yours because they don't want to face their pain and their truth.
Right. I believe that not just the book, but hopefully even this interview will be a blessing to so many people to begin to tell their story, begin to tell. I don't care if it's abuse or even if it's heartache, abuse, anywhere within. If we can get two people who will just listen, who will just hear fully what we have to say, and hopefully we get some counselors in there, because all of us need counseling. Lord knows we all need counseling. And
yes, it does not hurt.
For years in the black community, we take therapy. It was like, oh no, go upstairs and lay down for it. Just take a nap, you'll be all right. Like, you want me to sleep off this this pain? That doesn't work. Or you go to the vices, or you go to self-medicating. Or nowadays, you can get over-the-counter drugs or prescription drugs, and someone can just self-medicate themselves right on out of here. This is amazing. What accomplishments are you most proud of now in your life? From the time the abuse ended to now in your life, what accomplishments are you most proud of that when you take time to look back, you're like, oh my God, I did that?
My biggest accomplishment, of course, is being able to write my story.
Yes.
I never thought that I would be here. I never thought that my name would be on a book other than an obituary, to be honest with you. For a long time, I always thought nobody would ever know who I was, Being a mom is a great accomplishment. I have 4 children. All of them are a year apart. 18, 17, 16, and then I have a 14-year-old.
Ooh.
Yes. So to me, that's amazing. And then to be from the black community with 4 children with the same dad that was my husband is an accomplishment in itself. It may sound crazy, but it's so rare that when I tell people, oh yeah, I have 4 kids, and I did an interview not too long ago for a job, and that was one of the questions. Well, do you have children? I said, yes, and it was for a federal job. And the question was, well, do they all have the same dad? And I'm like, yes. And the young lady that was interviewing me, she said, amazing.
Yes. Especially, well, was this a job in Maryland?
Yes, it's a job in Maryland.
Yeah, see, it depends on the demographics where you are, but it's crazy the way society and focus and everything is now. And it's not just, man, it's I mean, we can get to a whole nother conversation. My thing is all about love and helping men and women communicate better in love. But what was the glue? What helped you stay married for 16 years?
Initially, it was understanding. We understood each other. My ex-husband and I, funny is, we both of our moms, 10 years apart, had the exact same name. They were like the exact same person. My mom's name is Rosalind. My mother-in-law's name is Rosalind. They were essentially the exact same person, as it just 10 years apart. So it was crazy because, at the end of the day, we could understand each other. And we had moments where, we would cry together, and I would tell him how I really felt, and he would understand it. We kind of grew apart, but I don't regret my marriage, and I don't regret the relationship that I had with him, because we understood that neither one of us were perfect, and we both came from broken paths.
Right.
It's so funny because before the 70s, everybody was sleeping with everybody, and you didn't know who was what.
Right.
So, you had issues where, I think that's the mother. I'm not sure if that's the mother. Oh, that may be the grandmother. Oh, no, that's not the grandmother. that's the auntie, but the auntie was really the mother. So a lot of that is in the book as well.
Yeah, there was a lot.
Yeah.
It's sad. I asked in one of my forums one time. I remember asking after a situation came up when a lady was talking about why she didn't do something sexually with her mate because there was abuse, and she started tearing up. Now, no one really heard it. She was in the front of the audience, and I just asked a blanket question to the audience. I said, all right, what's a cultural film in the black community that a lot of people in here love? Name a cultural film. You can say all the words to it. Is that enough? Most people say, oh, Color Purple. I say, okay, what's so good about that film? And it got kind of quiet. And I said, is it a great film, or is it that you can relate?
And the sad part about it is we all can relate to the Color Purple.
We can relate.
All of us.
And you're talking about, and you're not talking about.
We all can relate to a storyline in the Color Purple. For instance, I don't know if you remember when they were in church and she came in and she said to her dad, she said, Dad, sinners have souls too.
Yep.
We all have been there when all people see is our negative and they never see our positive. The positive that you do, the positive that you bring to the community, to your family, to your kids, or even to yourself. It's just like, oh, wow, she messed up. She didn't finish college, or she had kids out of wedlock. All they saw was all of the wrongs of the person, and no one ever could see the positive that you did.
And it's so sad that even nowadays, and you know, I mean, we could talk about this for hours. I want to make sure people get the information before we get out of here, but we have to. Well, for one, we'll have to bring you back for one and do some more talking, and we'll be doing some more stuff with you on this radio station as well as some other ones that we work with. But this is what I'd like to ask you. What do you want the reader to walk away with from reading your book, Game of Lies, Hidden Truth?
I want them to walk away with the feeling that I have a voice. I am able to speak my truth. I want people to walk away with the knowledge that everything that glitters is not gold. It does not have to be perfect. You can have hiccups in life and still live. Let your pain motivate you to be better. Even if you don't want to write a book, tell somebody else your story. Share your story. Because once you share your story, you can help the next person.
Yes.
It's so hard in the community because everybody thinks that help is financial. Oh, I need help. Well, I don't have any money to give you. Sometimes it's just an ear. Somebody to sit there and listen. Sometimes it's the simple things that help. For me, it was a pen and a piece of paper. When all else failed, if I could write it down, I got through it. No, it may not have paid that bill that I needed paid. No, it may not have got me a new car and my car breaking down, but it got some pain that was hit out of me. So it made me feel a little bit better.
Right. And also the fact that you realize you're not alone. One of the biggest things that for me as a young man, when I found it was a men's group, a Mighty Men's Bible Study, and I never forget some of the things that the pastor and some of the other guys were talking about. They were older than me, and I looked around. I was like, "What? Y'all all have those feelings too?" And it was like, "Yeah, we all men. We go through this. We go through that." And it was such a relief to realize that you're not alone. One of the biggest things that happens when you're able to tell your story and to help other people by letting them know is you're letting people know they're not alone. They're not alone. I think this is one of the great things about your book, Game of Lies, Hidden Truth, that it's going to let a lot of people know, look, this is my story too. You probably can relate to parts of this. Take what you need and grow, because there is a greater future. And I won't give away much more of the book, but I will do this. We're talking to author Tiesha Davis. How can people get in touch with you, and how can people get a copy of your book, Game of Lies, Hidden Truth?
So you can get a copy of the book on Amazon, or you can email me at tiesha.c.davis@gmail.com. You can hit me up on Facebook under Tiesha Davis, or you can hit me up on Instagram under Patience Please.
Patience_please on Instagram. Tiesha is spelled TIESHA.C.Davis@gmail.com. That's her email address. And Tiesha Davis on Facebook. Tiesha Davis, thank you so much for joining us. We're going to be talking to you some more soon, and we're going to definitely get you on the morning show and things like that. But Tiesha Davis, author Tiesha Davis, the author of the book Game of Lies, Hidden Truth. Amazing time with you today. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Troy, for having me.